welcome once again here in another episode of Just the Tip. Thoughts, insights, and perspectives. My name is Rico, the President of Reap Success Talent Development Services. At sa hapong ito, pag-uusapan natin avoiding miscommunications in implementing and planning projects. So maraming pagkakataon sa ating mga trabaho at even sa simpleng sarili mong buhay na nag-uusap tayo, nakikipag-usap tayo at nagpaplano tayo ng mga gusto nating gawin. Turns out, hindi pala pare-pareho tayo ng iniisip, no? So iba yung iniisip ng teammate mo, iba yung iniisip mo, iba yung iniisip ng leader nyo. And in this episode, pag-uusapan po natin, paano ba to na-avoid? Paano ba to na-handle? And today, we have with us is a person with more than 20 years of work experience focused in leading teams and operations management. His various roles in retail marketing and IT allowed him to pursue what he is most passionate about: people development, process development, project management, and agile implementation. My dear friends, let's all welcome our special guest today, Mr. Jayvee Jude Roque. So, JV, magandang hapon and maraming salamat for accepting my invite today for this episode.
Thank you also for inviting. And yun nga, terno pa tayo as we've noticed earlier. We have the same color, but so good to break the ice, I guess, and get my nerves out of the way. So, yeah.
parang nag-usap, no? Pagbukas ng camera, uy, pareho ng kulay.
Yeah, but it's good to break the ice, and at least yun nga, thanks for inviting me also. I'd like to impart whatever knowledge I have with your team and your group, and I hope people learn a lot from this session. So
yeah, thank you very much. And to start itong ating parang kunwari interview itong ating vidcast, gusto ko lang tanungin, no, curious din kasi kami, no. Right now you're currently a project manager, tama, di ba?
Yes, that's correct. So I found myself in the project management space. I guess when I was trying to make some notes from our first meeting, and it was more like I did an introspective. How was my career for the past 20 years, and how I ended up in this place. And I'd call myself an accidental project manager in a way. I just found myself doing it and liking it and enjoying the ups and downs and the scares, but also the victories. So yeah.
So parang parang discovered passion, no? So you ended up liking it.
Yeah.
Di ba, no?
That's true. I was really for the longest part of my career, I was in the leadership space. I actually started in sales. I was assigned in different areas in the Philippines. I was working for an oil and gas company, and then because of that, I got honed in really managing your time and trying to figure out how to make things work on your own. Because I was very grateful that my boss then was not the type who'd call me every 10 minutes and say, "Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?" Something like that. He was more the type that, okay, this is what you need to come up with. Talk to your partners, your stakeholders, and then just come back every week to give reports. So that was where I started out. And then eventually, after doing that for quite a long bit of my career, I started thinking already, what should I do next? I mean, the world is getting smaller in a way. I found out that the company I was working for wasn't just in the Philippines. It was actually a global company because I got exposed to one of the groups one of the organizations that was handling operations in Singapore, in Hong Kong, and wherever. So I did that for a bit. And then I said, hey, I want to do this. I want to try to explore stuff I don't know, locations I'm not familiar with also. So my first shot at being an IT project manager essentially was more of as a business analyst. That's where I started in. That's more to learn about how it is to talk the jargon and find out more about what what to do on the BA side. And thankfully, my boss during that time, she did allow me to do some small project management stuff.
Mhm.
Like she'd say, okay, there's a small project, you can do this project, your style, whatever style you want to do. So that's how I found myself in the space. So yeah,
Ang laking
and
transition
then
no? Ang laking transition
yeah,
din, no? From sales to project management, no? It was a big transition.
it was kasi and more so because as I said, I came from sales marketing on that side, and then the group that I joined was really on the IT side. So
Oo.
dati ako yung naghihigi ng sales, ako yung nangungulit sa IT, nagsasabi sa IT na, hey, give me this, give me that, I need my reports on these dates, or I need this figure to come up on the screens of our point of sale systems at the store. So and then I found myself on the other end, wherein I was the one who was supporting the marketing folks. And I think what helped me then was so my team was really IT during that
Mhm.
time, but I was the only one who had a solid retail experience. I was the one who knew about sales. I was the one who knew about how stuff would work at the store level. So, syempre, Rico, pagka IT usapan, pag technical, ganyan, they won't listen to me because they don't, I really don't know,
Yeah.
stuff about the point of sale systems and all of that.
Yeah.
But whenever I'd say that, hey, that thing we're going to implement at the store, it's not going to work. That, whatever enhancement you're trying to do, it's not going to work because this.
Mhm.
That's when they'd listen to me. So that was one of the, I guess that was where I started breaking in and learning to speak more. Um, and thankfully, after that stint, I did get, so I was lucky in that company wherein I was allowed to move from one place to another. I was kind of conscious in shifting positions within 2 to 3 years time,
Yeah.
and even in places I didn't know about. So I ended up becoming, learning all about the IT language through, they call it ITSM, ITIL, all of those things that you'll hear on the IT jargon. Then eventually I found myself being a technical coordinator. And that time, it was really the place where I think I really learned a lot of the jargon or how IT works,
Mhm.
because we were working on the servers, we were making sure that the schedules of the downtimes or whatever was well coordinated with everyone around the world. So that was how I got my feet really wet on the IT side. And then eventually, after that, I again broke getting, I tried to get out again of the project management space, but because I really was aiming for the leadership positions, and I
Mhm.
ended up becoming an operations team lead for the network group this time.
Mhm.
So something I'm really not familiar with.
Yeah.
It's quite fortunate that I could bring my skills from the other jobs into these roles. So I had a team. I managed a team of around, I think, around 10 young ones, I would say. Uh, and it was an operations team in the sense that we were more the type that, if there's a problem, they'll call us, we'll fix it. Or if there's a problem, there's a ticket that's logged, and then we work on the ticket, and that's how things work. But I did encourage my team during that time that, we still have some projects, even though we were doing the run part of the work, we were doing the operations type of work, the day-to-day job, keeping the lights on. That's what they call it. Um, what I did encourage some of them, especially the ones who were interested to, break out of the mode of just doing the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
I did challenge them that, hey, think of this as a 2 or 3 month project. What can you do? What can you do with that? Those 2 to 3,
Yeah.
that 2 to 3 months. And that was it. So even as a team lead, I was doing some, I was coaching folks on how to work their projects, how to think of things as projects and not just as your day-to-day things na
Mhm.
gusto mong gawin or kailangan
Yeah.
mo lang gawin kasi you're paid for that. So yeah. So even as a
Yeah.
team lead, that's what I did. And then eventually after that, and do cut me if I'm taking too long about this, but I wanted to share
Yeah.
how I got to the space where I am in now. Um, After that, I did start learning about Scrum primarily because so hang on, I have to just close an application. So hang on.
Yeah, ano ko
There
na
you
lang
go.
yun. Ikakat ko na lang yun.
Sige. Okay. So, where was I? Okay, let me 3, 2, 1. Okay. So when I was the team lead for network, nagsimula na magsulputan yung mga new terminologies in IT. Meron na
Mm.
mga tinatawag na, robotics process automation. Cloud is very popular. And on the project management side, what became popular, or at least the word that goes around, is something called agile. So everyone was like, I
Mm.
want to go agile, I want to go agile. So eventually, because of that, I did some self study. I got myself certified on Scrum, one of the ways that you can implement agile in an organization. So I got a Scrum certification, and then moving on to the next role that I did they call it a safe or scaled agile framework
Mm.
certification. I did that as well. And then now I'm putting it to use as as an agile project manager. So I'm more on the agile side of things, not really it's more of the running things with your Scrum, your with Scrum, with your Jira boards, with your sprints. Those are the
Yeah.
terms that we regularly use in terms of how we interact with our stakeholders. So that was a mouthful. So maybe
Yeah.
you have some questions.
Yeah, it was a wonderful no, wonderful timeline. No? I really got to parang ako na-immerse dun sa how you journeyed into eventually becoming a project manager and where you are right now, no? How you led people. I got a picture of how you were as a teammate, no? So you mentioned kanina, ang keywords na natandaan ko is there are a lot of activities in the IT world na really well coordinated, no, in the whole world, no. So in terms of coordination, I feel like even in small projects, no, nagkakaroon niya ng mga akala ko ba gano'n? Akala ko ba ito sabi mo? Hindi iyan ang sinabi ko, ito sinabi ko. 'Di ba? May mga moments na ganyan, no. So
Yes, yes.
I believe this is what we call miscommunication, 'di ba?
That's
Hindi
correct.
kayo hindi kayo on the same page, na hindi kayo nagkaintindihan, hindi rin kayo naglaruhan. So it's miscommunication, no. So how do you avoid this, no, in terms of the project management perspective? How do you avoid something like this na
Okay, so
scenario?
first off, don't stress yourself by avoiding it because it could never be avoided. So it's always there. It's
Yan,
just that
oo.
how you'll be able to handle it. I think
Yeah.
it's more of that. Even small project, tama ka, small project, big project, global project, lahat yan may miscommunication. Kahit puro Pilipino yan.
Oo, oo.
Or you're talking to folks from the US or in different time zones. There's always a chance for there to be miscommunication. So, what are ways to mitigate it? So, first and foremost, what I would suggest would be make sure to know your stakeholders, know your client, whatever you call them, know your partner. I won't stop there. I won't say with just knowing your stakeholders. Know the people in the meeting, the people that you regularly talk to. Know the people in the, they call it a kick-off meeting if it's a project. But more importantly, know the people that are not in the meeting as well. You'll be surprised that there are a lot of instances in project management wherein sometimes the ones in the meetings, they're actually not the decision makers. Sometimes they are, the ones that just, do the day-to-day job, get this done, get a tick list done. But when you need to get a decision, what's important is, you need to meet with someone outside of the meeting room.
Mhm.
So know your stakeholders, and that's not just to exclude those that are higher up. Make sure that you also know the ones that are the ones that help around the movers. I One of the things that I've always been very conscious of is to know the admin. I don't know if you guys practice that or is that something that's still used nowadays. But I always try to know who are the especially if you're talking to C level members of
Mhm.
the organization. It's best to know their admin, have a good relationship with them because that's the best way for you to get in their calendars.
Yeah.
Best way for you to know how these folks think and how you can more or less get a yes for your project. So that's the first tip I would give, which is to really know your stakeholders. That's the first one. Second, on the miscommunication, if I may just continue, is learn to use the available tools that you have. Very very important. Email. Use it effectively to get the results that you need. When don't just email for the sake of emailing. In the circles where I do some mentoring or coaching, I keep on telling the folks that are learning project management to document, document, document,
Mm.
because sometimes that's your only fallback, which is
Yeah.
the documentation that you have.
Sometimes may ano
So
yan, 'di ba? Sometimes you have what was it, what ano to? Ano tawag dito? Yung approval sheet, no? Andiyan lahat yung
yeah,
description, yung purpose, 'di ba? Tapos
yeah,
you have your stakeholders, no? Your decision makers,
yes,
those involved, nakasign sila diyan. So that
oo,
when things go, confusing, ito, balikan natin to. So yun, document.
tama.
Naalala ko lang when you mentioned documentation. Yeah.
Oo. So, yun. So, very important. Emails, documents, yan. Find out if the groups that you're working with, if they are using, what tools they're using specifically for their organization. Are they using MS Project? Are they using Jira? Or maybe they're just using Excel. So, for all you know, they're just using your MS Office tools, your
Mhm.
PowerPoints, your Word, and they're good with that. Um, and then another tool that you should get very comfortable with is, of course, calendar invites.
Mm.
Know when to, you have to invite. So, first off, know the right amount of time for every particular meeting. Not all meetings have to be 1 hour. I think in
Yeah.
Outlook, the setting is 30 minutes, but sometimes there are meetings that are just okay for 15 minutes, and
Yeah.
your attendees will appreciate that.
Yeah.
So know how to use your calendar invites. And then nowadays, because we're stuck at home, a lot of us are still stuck at home. Learn how to use the chat functions. You have your Microsoft Teams. What else? You have your Facebook Messenger. You have your Viber. Should it be chat? Should it be, are you in a good enough relationship that you can chat with your stakeholder? You can just ask questions off the fly. You can ask someone who, you can just ask a question and then say later on that, hey, I'll document this to an email. So learn how to use the chat function as well. So that's the second tip. Know the available tools for you. Should I continue with the third? I think this
Yeah.
is my last
Yeah.
tip
Go
for
ahead.
it. So in relation to using the right tool, it's also good if you can use the right communication method. Know when to have meetings versus emails versus a phone call. Not everything has to be a meeting. I've worked in organizations wherein gusto nila lahat may meeting every hour. Tapos they invite all the stakeholders, all the members of the organization. I've worked in organizations that are like that. But I've also worked with some organizations wherein they'd say, we don't even have to meet. Let's just email this, and then I can approve it on email.
Mm.
So learn how to use that whichever method work for the organization you're working with. And under right, having the right communication method, it's always good to be very mindful of your agenda. Make sure that, syempre, pag project manager ka, you come in there with an agenda. Alam mo kung ano yung gusto mong makuha sa meeting. If it's a sprint planning in Scrum, if it's a sprint planning, you want to end with a sprint backlog that's signed by your product owner. You want to get that. If you're a manager, of course, you want things to, the project to be on time at the lowest cost possible with the least disruption to the business. So iba-iba. So when you come up with your agenda, be very mindful of what you will get as a PM, but also be very mindful of what the participants will get from your meeting. Everyone should feel when they get out of the room that they are taking home something. Don't just have a meeting with an agenda na out of 10 of you, only 5 people felt that, yay, nag-meeting kami. Hindi maganda yon. Maganda yung, dapat when they get out, they all feel like, oh, I brought something. I learned
Mm.
something. I contributed something. I
Yeah.
asked an important question that others didn't think about. Um, Make sure that, you have a very mindful
Mm.
mindful. The way that you make your agenda, you're very mindful with it. And then last but not the least, in the right communication method. And this is just an example from, I had a talk with one of my good friends who's also a project manager, and you were trying to compare how we do things, like how we best explain things to our stakeholders or our clients, and she told me outright, JV, your style, you work best by thinking of analogies, like like how you can make things like an IT jargon or something about IT, how you can make it seem like it's your part of the day-to-day life of someone you're talking to. So know how, what's the style for you as part of your communication method, whatever style works for you, whether it's analogies, whether it's going deep into Google and finding out all these technical stuff. Find out what works for you and what works for your client. So those are some of the tips that I can give in terms of, how to lessen miscommunication, not necessarily get rid of it, but hopefully those things will lessen lessen the miscom and add more peace to the world, right?
Yeah. Uy, thank you, JV, for all these tips, and um these are things that will, yeah, I'm sure they will really help us gain world peace. Especially
Yeah,
for global projects, you will have world peace when you know how,
it's
when
true.
you apply these tips on lessening and handling miscommunication for project management. Tama si JV, no? I just had to ask kung kaya nating i-eliminate to. Pero totoo, hindi talaga nawawala in day to day, even in day to day life, sa bahay nga lang natin, eh. Diba? For the young ones out there, may iuutos sa yung magulang mo, hindi mo na gets, iba yung naisip mo. And then, 'di ba? It happens, it happens. So, just remember these tips na binigay sa atin ni JV, no, which is number one, of course, know your stakeholders. Sino ba ang stakeholders natin? Who should be involved and who should not be involved? Sino rin yung involved na wala sa meeting, no? Kailangan i-approach sila after. So, and second, there are a lot of available tools that we have here. So let's just learn how to use, optimize, and maximize all of them. May it be chat, calendar invites, email, documentation, whatever, kung anong applicable. And then the third, wait, I'm just turning the pages of my notes. The third is, kailangan alam din natin, no, when to use these tools. Saan sila applicable. Kasi, yun nga, ako, I've also had experiences, no. Nagtawag pa ng meeting, hindi naman kailangan mag-meeting. Ako din, guilty as charged. Nagtawag ako ng meeting, biglang 5 minutes lang, which means it should have been an email. Di ba? It should have been an
Yeah.
email. So, it happens, and it's best when we get to really just uh, get to know when to use the right tools. No? So again, thank you, JV, for these wonderful tips. No? And I'm sure our project managers out there, and for those na, well, unofficially or one time, no, project manager, magagamit nila to when they take home these learnings that you gave us. So thank you once again.
You're welcome. You got it all on point. So I hope that was able to help.
Yeah. Yeah. And JV, again, I hope we could see you in the next episodes of Just the Tip. And our dear viewers, stand by for the next episode then, no? Next Friday, meron po tayong new episode. So, watch out. And JV, baka meron kang gustong i-promote or i-plug before we end.
No, well, because I prepared for it already. I just wanted to end by giving, a few more tips for those that are just getting their feet wet in terms of project management. Um, you don't have to take notes, Rico. It's okay. I saw you were trying tonight and catch up with the way with how fast I talk. So first tip is, if you like to be challenged, if you like to work in a field that is very dynamic, you will enjoy being a project manager. That's the first. So try to do some introspective, try to learn more about yourself. And if that's something that you like, thinking about complex things and interacting with different types of people, then you will enjoy being a project manager. Second is the good thing about being a project manager or working on projects is that a project, by definition, has a start and an end. What does it mean? If you're in a project that you don't like, the only thing you have to look forward to is the day when it will end, right? And then after that, you'll wake up after that. You'll wake up and then think, okay, maybe my next project will be a better one. So if you dislike something, it will end someday. But if you like something, it's something that you enjoy, you'll learn from it. So it's a win-win for being a project manager.
Yeah.
And the third tip for those that are just starting out, be hungry for learning. There's, especially during the pandemic, there were a lot of online courses that became free. There's a lot of online tools that have become free. There's a lot of I think even the coaches or mentors on project management, they would give some free sessions, or
Mhm.
even here in your platform, it's
Yeah.
something that where people can learn. So try to always keep yourself equipped, keep on learning, I guess. Be hungry for learning. That's my last tip for everyone here watching. That's it.
Thank you, JV, and thank you again for the final tips, no. And dear viewers, see you in our next episode.